Well, there's no uh, interesting photographs or music or jokes or laughing or any of those things because uh, it's an important topic that really doesn't need distraction. Um, it's a weird place we've wandered into since the Kylie Rodney story, the discovery of her, exactly where her last known location was. We still don't know why she wasn't found by the divers that from the that were there working for the police. But nevertheless, however fate found its way to Adventures with Purpose, they ended up there. They ended up the ones to find her car. And I think even now today, it's hard to make sense of how the story of Kylie Rodney's life and how it sadly ended. It just doesn't, it's illogical on many levels. Now, there's people that say, no, it ended exactly as one would predict, given the fact that she was drinking and she was using drugs. Maybe, but what is so illogical is the aftermath. What is so illogical is that we've seen the car go into the water. It was on video. The cops apparently didn't look at the video. And now we know there were plenty of cars around the area in perfect line sight when it happened. It's very strange story. And and what becomes highly irrational and illogical is that the cops came out and said they spent how many hours and in time searching, and then AWP comes flying in on their white horses to save the day. So I noticed at the time that AWP showed up that Jared Leisek, who really, for all intent purposes, he is AWP. Now, it's I don't think I've ever heard anybody say, "Oh man, I love AWP. I just love to watch Jared." Have y'all noticed that? It's usually I love AWP. Doug is awesome, or Sam or Dan, depending on when you were really watching them the most, right? But it's just I've never heard, man, I love Jared so much. It's always the other guys. And it's kind of now that I think about the other guys and I think, wow, where do I stand on Doug? I don't know. And that's not really the point of this video today. But to believe in a very simplistic fashion that the revelations that came out apparently February this year was the big beginning, and they managed somehow to keep it quiet. Somehow, some way, Jared Leisek kept it quiet. I don't even have to tell you what it was at this point. Everybody in this whole true crime community, everybody's heard the story. Everybody knows. And I really kind of think I probably wouldn't have made a statement except for I stood in support of AWP. When everything happened with Kylie Rodney and people, the backlash against AWP, and the mother of Kylie Rodney said to AWP, "You guys are not my heroes." And I thought, gosh, do you know what life would be like to not know where your baby was? Do you know the special hell on earth that is? They gave you a gift. They gave you back an opportunity to rebuild and form not a better life, not the same life, but a life where you weren't stuck in one moment in time. the disappearance of your child. And I stood by him. I did. I was forceful and vocal. And man, I have lived to regret that. I remember asking myself, when I saw the statement by Kylie Rodney's mother, I did stop and go, gosh, that just doesn't fit. What does she know something we don't know? That actually, went through my mind as I was trying to make sense of what was happening. And now I'm to the point that I wonder, did that private investigator know? Did that SF investigates? Did he know about what was coming down the pipe with Jared Leisek? Maybe he told them who Jared Leisek is. I don't know. But I felt like, because I had been vocal and giving my support to AWP, it didn't age well. It's a bad. I'm pretty conflicted about the whole thing, and this is where I stand. I chose the background for the video today as shades of gray, right? In fact, that's something it's a common thing that I teach people all the time. Most of us go through life and we have very clear lines about what's right and what's wrong. Things are either black or white. Very simple to make a decision. I stand here and I don't stand there. But real life, like the day-to-day real living that we all do, it really exists in between that black and white extreme. It always exists somewhere in those shades of gray. And that is kind of where most of us as subscribers on YouTube, people that watch true crime or specifically Adventures with Purpose, that is where so many of us are conflicted. We're like, oh my God, this is the most vile, egregious, horrific story action that a human being can take. There is really no worse if you're one of those people that consider yourself a child advocate. There are many people that are child advocates that have tried so hard to bring a death penalty to people that would terrorize and victimize children, make it a real crime. Because the people that are confronted with it, the people that have to live with the effects the rest of their lives, they're changed forever by that trauma. It's not a crime where you walk in, steal something, and walk away, and then next month when you got money, you can replace what was stolen from you. You never get it back in the case of rape. Never. Now, I'm pretty horrified, and there is no shade of gray here. This is pretty clear. A statement that was made by an FBI agent or ex-FBI agent said that Jared Leisek was allegedly that he's been accused of having sexual relations with his cousin. Hey, you are so far off the base there. You hadn't even come close to describing the reality of his crime. And the indictment says it. Here's what the indictment says: the rape of a child. So try that on for size, FBI agent. It's the rape of a child. It's the destruction of innocence. And before any of this came out, I have said on more than one occasion, you assault a child in that manner, you deserve at least putting death penalty on the table. At least. For these people that are doing it and they're taking video and they're peddling in child pornography, they're getting rich off of sucking the souls out of small children, They definitely deserve the death penalty. And for those of you that really love Adventures with Purpose, those of you that really, really, really love what they do, I get it. I totally get it. You listen to my videos, you listen to me supporting them. But this is another view of shades of gray. Not whether something's right or wrong, but where we tend toward making blanket general statements about a person. That person is bad. That person is good. In this moment in time right now, it's fairly easy for us to look at Jared Leisek and say, hey, you're a bad guy. No kind of equivocation, nothing. It seems pretty cut and dried. You're bad, right? But here's the shade of gray that gets everybody all screwed up. At the same time that Jared Leisek was, in fact, a pedophile, a rapist, at the same time, he was making it possible to swim down to the bottom of the lake and find Kylie. That's what's got everybody all messed up, right? It's what got you messed up because you say, wait. I love him. I love Adventures with Purpose. Okay, you can love them. They have done great things. This doesn't change any of that. But also, here's the flip side. The fact that Jared made it possible for AWP to become a thing, to go out and search for people and try to do good. The fact that he did that, it does not erase the bad. They both exist together. His cousin has made these accusations in a very forceful way, and the sheriff's department absolutely believed her and other family members, and he has now been indicted on 2 charges. I think they're probably going to arrest him November 30th when he goes into court. I think that's what they're waiting on. That is the reality, but it is also the reality that he made it possible for an organization like AWP to do the good work that they do. So the two things are real and they exist on the same plane. And that's the problem that get people messed up. That's where people struggle to heal. That's how people struggle to, accept reality. If you're one of those people that you really prefer for things to be very clearly all right or all wrong, that you got to have a monster and you've got to have an angel, right? Then you're gonna find you will find that life things may be a little more easy to accept as long as it doesn't touch you. But on the very moment that it is your son that is involved, or it's your daughter that's involved, or it's your friend or your dad or your mom, then those shades of gray will come crashing in all around you. And you'll be like, what? What? My best friend got drunk and killed somebody? What? Well, I don't think I want my friend to go to prison for 10 years. But it's also pretty horrible that he got drunk and drove and killed somebody. Shades of gray. Shades of gray is what gets us every time, y'all. I went to Jared Leisek's website. He has a website. It's not AWP. It's not Adventures with Purpose. It is jaredleisek.com, my story. And I thought, gosh, I don't know what I think about that. is he a celebrity? He's got 2 million followers on YouTube. Maybe you might say that makes him a celebrity, but most of what he does really is just, trying to help the cops, right? Well, maybe not. Because I was a little bit shocked. Well, I was very shocked when I began reading the page. He's got quite a background, no doubt about it. But he's also got a lot of problems here. Dropped out of high school, stock market trouble, legal trouble, lots of bankruptcy, real estate fraud. He put this on his open book. Hi, I'm Jared Leisek. I'm an open book, and this is my story. He put it all out here, right? Accidental hobby business, reflecting on 40. And then he ends it like this. Now he does not mention his cousin. He does not mention his actions when he was 17 years old. And in his response, where he admits to what he did to this child, a 9-year-old child, a child, 17-year-old Jared somehow gets rewritten as 12-year-old Jared. Where have we seen this before? Oops, wasn't that Don Wells' story? So while Jared Leisek puts out this page, jaredleisek.com, my story, I'm an open book. I was a bad kid. I had bad parents. I didn't graduate from high school. I committed real estate fraud. I got in trouble for insider trading. I have built people of $250,000, and that was years before AWP ever came along. So he tells you all these terrible things about his history and his past, but he never mentions what? Child rape. And you know what I think? This is just speculation on my part. I think that it was the child rape that prompted this page. I think this was his way. I think he always knew it was hanging over his head. It might come back to bite him in the butt. And maybe that's why he put this out. Maybe this is a little bit of, feel sorry for me. Can't you see how hard I've tried? Now I'm trying to make restitution for all of my bad history. No, it doesn't erase child rape, because that young woman that you did this to, she's living with it every single day of her life. She needs Jared to take back her power. And there's only one way of doing that. Just one. And that's for you to be judged on a public platform, not this platform, but in a courtroom, to be judged in a courtroom, and to be, according to the laws of your state, the laws of your country, to be treated like anybody else that had committed child rape. And at that point, she can gather herself, put this behind her, and rebuild a life where child rape was a part of her history, but not the cover-up as a part of her future. She's not doing this to you as vengeance. She's doing this for her so that she can move on to the after child rape part of her life. So at the very end of this rather lengthy webpage about Jared and his story about his life is the last little snippet, and he calls it Being Remembered. I thought this was interesting. He says, whatever direction you take in life, I truly wish you a world of success in business and personal relationships. I do hope that one day our paths will cross if they haven't already. In being remembered, I would like it if you spoke kindly to me. I want to be remembered as somebody who was always ready to share a hug, a smile, a wink, and was always kind to you and others. In the end, I'm just like anybody else. I put my pants on one leg at a time. I will have bad days and may even raise my voice. Just give me a quick nap and I'm usually all right after that. Whatever direction you take in life, I truly wish you a world of success in business and personal relationships. Take good care of your spouse, your children, and the friendships worth keeping. Pay it forward and do your best to leave a good legacy for your family. I don't know. This is a tough story. You read this, you read his whole story of his life, who he is, and you think, yeah, it's a pretty good guy. It's a pretty good guy. He's done a lot of good. He did a lot of bad too. Made a lot of mistakes. Stole $250,000 from investors. Committed fraud. Paid the price. It's all in his story, but he never mentioned that when he was 17 years old, he raped a 9-year-old. Not just once. It was from the time she was 8 years old to 9 years old, and it happened time and time and time again in multiple locations, including the grandparents' house. You may look at this and you may feel the draw, to be supportive of Jared. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he has. Maybe you're right. But it doesn't change his victim's reality, does it? While you're feeling bad for him, while you're looking at all the good that AWP as an organization has done, and those things are real. I'm not saying that those get erased. They're just as real as what his victim is experiencing. But what if this cousin put her story up online? What if this cousin went through the painstaking details that Jared has in putting up his story? Sort of a tearjerker, sort of a rags to riches. Look at what I've done. Please forgive me my indiscretions. What kind of story would this victim come up with? What would the details look like for her? Some of you know because you lived it. So we're in a very strange, very uncomfortable place right now. This is the real life shades of gray that mess us up every day in our real lives. Most situations we find ourselves in are not black and white. Most difficult situations that we find ourselves in are some varying shade of gray. But there is an ultimate truth in all that gray. There is an ultimate truth, and the ultimate truth is that there's a little 9-year-old girl who was repeatedly victimized by a 17-year-old. She has had to live with that for decades. It clearly has been difficult for her. It has clearly been a horrible burden for her to finally be able to go to the cops and say, I want to do something about this. Now, for those of you that are saying, wait a minute, maybe this is a he said, she said, well, that's not going to work either because Jared has admitted it. He admitted it in an email from the Adventures with Purpose email server. He's admitted it. So the question now, as we're fumbling about in these shades of gray, AWP has done a lot of great work. Jared Leisek raped a child. The question is, which side, which density of gray are you going to be the most comfortable emerging from? Are you going to stand by the guy that started an organization that has found cars and solved some missing cases? He's also become a millionaire as a result. Are you going to come out and stand up and say, you know what? Right is right. She was a child. She's a 9-year-old child. No matter what, no matter how Jared tries to smooth it over. Oh, well, she was like 9 or 10 and I was 12. Wrong, Jared. The indictment states clearly there's family members corroborating locations and times. It happened between the time she was 8 up until the time she was 9, and you were 16 to 17. A very attractive young man that could have been dating girls his own age. No, this was power. This was something disgusting and primitive and awful. And the sacrifice was the soul of a little 8 to 9-year-old girl. It was not sexual relations, people. It was a crime. She was victimized horrifically each and every time it happened. And she carries with her the scars that will go with her into her future, the rest of her life. But if he can be held responsible, if he can be held publicly responsible for what he did, then that helps her take back her truth. That helps her come out of the shadows of shame to be able to stand up and say, no, I don't have anything to be embarrassed about. I was the victim. He is the one who should, the shame belongs with him. And again, it's true what he did, or it appears to be based on the indictment, the information coming from the victim herself. It does seem Jared himself he admitted it. In fact, Jared said in his email that he talked to the girl's mother, told the mother that he did it. So at the same time that we are confronted with the loss of a hero, modern day kind of, that exists along with the fact that the guy that was doing that work, the guy that was going out there and solving those missing cases, that's a guy that raped a child, his own family member, multiple times. Those two things exist together. It's not an either or, y'all. You don't have to make the decision. Jared Leisek is either a good guy solving crime or a pedophile child rapist. You don't have to make that choice because it isn't a choice. This is not mutually exclusive. Both of these things are true, and they exist together at the same moment in time. And that is what is making you so uncomfortable. But it's reality. So I think here's where I choose. This is what I choose. I think I accept that AWP has done some really great things. One of them being locating Kylie Rodney. That was so important for the family, for their healing. It was so important. It was so important for their overall healing. So I accept that. They did do that, and it was a good thing. But I also choose to stand just like I always do. I choose to stand with the victim. I choose to stand with the victim. And depending on what happens with Jared, you don't know. You don't know if he's going to jail. You don't know what's going to happen, but it doesn't matter. To me, the only thing that matters is that this victim has found her voice. The police are providing full support. They have indicted this guy. And now she gets to take back her truth. And my preference is to stand with her and applaud her and other family members and be very regretful that Jared ever let this happen. But I'll tell you what I am not going to do. I am not going to go to a website that was written by a man that knew damn well what his history was, what his past was, and he puts up a story that is designed to pull at your heartstrings so that when the information comes out about what he really did, that maybe you won't judge him too harshly. Well, how would you judge him if it was your baby that he got a hold of? Don't let someone manipulate you. Stand on your own 2 feet. Know who you are and what you believe. I stand with victims. I am a victim advocate, and I always will be a victim advocate. And yes, I was grateful that AWP found Kylie Rodney, only for one reason: for her family to heal and be able to move forward. And I hope that Jared's family, that there are great people in their midst to support them, but that is not the point. This is the point of the victim, her story, her time, her right to take back her power. The victim of a sexual crime, a sexual assault, a rape, whether you're 9, 19, or 90, the victim does not carry shame. The victim should not carry guilt. Those are negative emotions that belong with the perpetrator. This victim has a right to tell her truth, to take back control, and to be strong. And that's where I stand. I didn't get it wrong when I said that Adventures with Purpose did a good thing finding Kylie Rodney. I didn't get that wrong, and neither did you. Nobody got that wrong. It remains a good thing. But that exists simultaneously with this victim who must speak her truth. And I am 100% standing behind her to give her strength and confidence to tell her truth. And I think this is it's definitely a moment for learning and self-reflection. You know what I mean? It's definitely one of those moments in life to stop and ask yourself, are you giving too much? Are you putting too much confidence into people you don't know? Just because you know someone, just because you can say hello, goodbye, how you doing, it doesn't mean you know them. You know their history, you know the things that they've been involved in, what they've done. You don't. Just because somebody's been on television, that seems to be everybody's standard. If someone's famous, they should automatically be moral. That is just simply not true. Don't be a blind follower of YouTube creators, Facebook group leaders, or even, movie stars. Don't do that. You don't know them. You don't know their history. You haven't had a chance to peek behind the veil. In Jared Leisek's case, you know what? Toto just pulled back the curtain. There he is. The real guy. And I'll tell you something else too. I think there's definitely been situations where people have been demonized. But if you were to go back in their history, you would never find crap like fraud and child rape. We got to quit this. We got to quit this. Start thinking in order to make your decisions. Quit feeling to make your decisions. Be logical when you're making a decision. All right. Shades gray, people. It's what makes us most uncomfortable, but it is real life.